Maybe he's just not that into you.
Get that stuff out of here! It's Southwest Bias!
Welcome into another edition of Southwest Bias, brought to you by our friends at the Husband and Wife Law Team. If you've had a serious injury, call the Husband and Wife Law Team first, 602-783-8841, or visit their website at husbandandwifelawteam.com. And we are live from Studio K, brought to you by our friends at Circle K. Become a member of the Inner Circle today for free by downloading that Circle K app. My daughter is obsessed with the movie Wicked, and I have had to watch it far too many times for my liking. But there is a character, a guy named Buck, that, let's be frank, is kind of a complete loser. And he falls for Ariana Grande's character, the main character, Glinda, the Good Witch. And she's out of his league, and she basically brushes him off and goes, go ask this girl out. And they kind of hit it off, right? And then he decides to spurn her to try to go back and get with Glinda. Guess what? Doesn't work out real well for him. I'm more of an 80s guy. I grew up watching 80s teen comedies, and I'd love to believe that the loser can actually get the girl in the end, or the loser girl can get the jock guy in the end. But guess what? That ain't the world we live in. And right now, the Arizona Cardinals are playing that dangerous game. Yeah, they're the loser right now in this situation. And they are going to the prettiest girl at high school, Klint Kubiak, and saying, want to date me? Can I shoot my shot? Any chance? And you got a more interesting, let's call it, suitor up in Las Vegas, and the one that they're with right now, the Seahawks, that they could stay with, right? I don't see this working out very well for the Arizona Cardinals. Going up there and trying to hold their boombox in Seattle and saying, please love me. Please, Klint, choose us. When you've got a candidate who spent 2 days with you, you took him to dinner, you spent a day with him, and you didn't close the deal? I'm starting to worry that the Cardinals are going to be left holding the bag. Diana Rossini earlier today went on Twitter and said this when it came to the Arizona Cardinals and their coaching search, said, candidates up for either the Arizona or Raiders head coaching job were informed that there's still one more interview to be conducted with another candidate per source. So I'm kind of into you, but I'd really like to go explore this other potential relationship. When on earth and in life has that ever gone well for anybody? I mean, I guess swingers, but that doesn't really work in the NFL. You can't have multiple head coaches at once. You can pay multiple head coaches at once. Just ask the Arizona Cardinals. They've been real good at that for years. But what if this is off-putting to the guys that you've already talked to, in particular, Mike LaFleur? What's the benefit? If you really think that Mike LaFleur was worth spending 2 days with, that you think he could be the guy to actually help you win games, and he wants to be in Arizona, which admittedly, there are some assumptions there. I do not know that on full authority that is the case, but let's play in the world where it is. And he wants to be here, and you have interest in him. But you say, you know what? Hold on about your dream job. Hold on about wanting to be here. We need 3 or 4 days to go talk to this other guy. Some people will call it due diligence. I call it ineptitude. I call it dangerous. I call it somewhat unacceptable. If Mike LaFleur is a guy that you think you want as your head coach, hire the man now. Don't mess with Klint Kubiak. Now, maybe they get the luckiest we've ever seen. Maybe they wind up doing what most don't think is possible. Maybe they become that 80s movie dork that gets the girl. And we all sit here a week after Super Bowl and we applaud them for Klint Kubiak being the guy. And we say, man, it took gumption. Man, they showed some balls to wait. They could have done the one thing, but man, it really paid off. But if you are thinking that, have you not been around here for very long? Because the chances of the happy ending in that way aren't very good. Let's be frank. That's not how it happens here in Arizona. And sure, maybe something bucks the trend. Maybe I'm being a little too cynical. But I've been hardened by almost 40 years of Cardinals football, by almost 40 years of being a Suns fan, like by everything that we've gone through. So why am I supposed to believe that Klint Kubiak really is going to be the guy that wants to be here? As Total Herbert says, we're so delusional. I think that might very well be the case, that we're just trying to hold on to hope for something that doesn't really make sense. Mr. Cardinal 1969 says, this is dumb, poop emoji, poop emoji. That got the Cardinals petsing. You're bound to repeat history if you do not learn from it. Now, I think Klint Kubiak will be a much better coach than Jonathan Gannon was. But why do you think you can outdo the Raiders or the idea of staying with Seattle? This is an offensive guy that wants a quarterback, wants to be able to do something more special. I think, as David in the chat says, one of our bias, that Kubiak very well may stay in Seattle next year. So then you've gone and you've flirted with somebody and you've pissed off the guy that you actually want. And then you're left holding the Vance Joseph or Raheem Morris bag. You think that's going to help you in the long run? Sometimes you got to know where you stand in the pecking order. Sometimes you've got to understand that people are just out of your league. And sometimes you get lucky like me and you get somebody that's out of your league to marry you. Sometimes that happens, but not very often. And I just don't see the Cardinals being able to convince Klint Kubiak that they are the ones that he should get involved with. And are you going to pay money? The money that is probably going to take to convince Klint Kubiak of that? You could pay $15 million a year or something crazy like that to say, hey, forget the number one pick with the Raiders. Forget the fact that you could go back to the likely Super Bowl champions and run it back as their offensive coordinator. Come here. We got great Wi-Fi, and we'll even pay to put that Wi-Fi in your house. And we'll back up the Brinks truck. I don't think it's going to happen. Mike LaFleur seems to be in your league. Mike LaFleur seems like a guy that if you put the right coordinator with him, you could succeed. But that's another thing. You go through this whole dance. You wait because maybe Kubiak doesn't want to make a decision during Super Bowl week. And then you're standing there holding the bag when you hire whoever your head coach is and you're trying to find coordinators that can help them win. This seems like a failed game plan. We saw reports that Kubiak isn't that interested in the Cardinals. Guess what? You saw Robert Saleh use the hint of an interview with you as leverage to get a better deal in Tennessee. Maybe Klint Kubiak's using you to get a better deal or to make somebody jealous. You've seen that in all those movies. Popular person using the dorky one to try to make somebody jealous. I am very concerned about where this is headed. And some people will try to blow sunshine up your ass and tell you, "Oh, this is a good thing. They're chasing the big name." You can be Pollyannic like that, and maybe you'll turn out to be right. I just don't see it, and I don't understand why you're risking what you have for what you might get when it's a small percentage. Now, Vegas is a town of taking risks on small percentages or crazy things. I can understand why Vegas would do that because they think they're holding a winning hand. The Arizona Cardinals aren't. We got a Vegas residency here at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. I think Klint Kubiak's going to have a Vegas residency for his coaching career. And then you got to go crawling back to Mike LaFleur or Anthony Weaver or Vance Joseph or Raheem Morris and go, hey, you want to be our second or third choice? You want to try to help us sell this fan base on hope that they might not have? I don't like it. And I don't think that this is going to be some Hollywood ending for the Cardinals. Like that character in Wicked that I told you about at the beginning. He winds up heartless and with very little hope and angry. And he storms the castle.
Spoilers.
Crap. Maybe we're that guy as Arizona Cardinals fans.
Hey, do not incite a riot.
But maybe that is just my Southwest bias. We welcome in the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach. Shane, how are you?
I'm great, Espo. The sun's taking a while to turn on today.
That's all right. It feels like that kind of day as a Cardinals fan, too. I think
there might have been a solar storm.
I think this is, I guess, hey, Jonathan Gannon was right. The sun will come out in the valley.
Yeah.
It just takes a hell of a lot longer than we thought.
He just has to leave.
Man.
Hi.
I don't know. You're a Seahawks guy. Is Klint Kubiak? You are. I mean,
I don't know where you got that.
I'm making it up. Is Klint Kubiak worth the wait?
I would say no for two reasons. One, the main reason is because of last year, where you waited so long for Gannon and you were left with a bald man who doesn't know how to call a play. And that staff was just put together lackluster. And that was the downfall of the regime. But he is a great coach. The other thing I'll say is I think his stock has been raised a bit by his performance in big games, which is good, which is a good thing to like. That's a good problem to have. You're overperforming in games that matter. But people forget that most of the year, probably about 60 to 70% of the year, the Seahawks defense carried this team. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of play calling issues at the start of the season or in the middle of the season. And then, especially in this back half of the season when Darnold started turning over the ball, like he wasn't mitigating the risks. He's an awesome offensive mind, and I think that if you were to go after an offensive mind, it's either him or LaFleur, and you got to hope you get one of them. But again, I think the stock is being raised a little bit by the performance he had against the Rams in the two games where the Rams dismantled the defense and the offense had to pick him up.
Yeah.
Again, good problem to have, but just want to pump the brakes a little bit on everyone thinking that he's the savior.
I think he's a slightly better chance at succeeding than Mike LaFleur. And if Mike LaFleur is the one that's actually making eyes at you, why are you not going, hey, let's just make this happen.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So maybe he's not, maybe he's a 9 and you're trying because you think Kubiak's a 10. Just take what's there.
I don't get why you see these reports about Kubiak and how, like, if there was a decision made today, I'm sure he would pick the Raiders job. Like, I just think it makes more sense. But also, take a hint, man. Like, take a hint and learn from your mistakes. You did this last time. Mm-hmm. Don't do it again.
Well,
stop waiting for the guy in the Super Bowl.
We'll tell you though. They'll tell you though. We made the right. We did the right thing last time because it worked out so well. Thank you to all the bias in the chat. But DJ Boogie says, the Raiders are sending Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady walks in there, and then Monty Ossenfort and Michael Bidwell walk in. Aren't you a little more intrigued?
Is this the start of a bad
It
joke?
could be. They walk into a bar. Guess what? Klint Kubiak goes home with Tom Brady. All right.
Whoa.
Let's be honest here. I mean, look, the Arizona Cardinals. If we're gonna keep this pop culture thing going, they're Screech from Saved by the Bell. I'm sorry, you're going home with Zach Morris. You're not going home with Screech. Zach Morris. You go back and watch that. Total creep. But you're not going home with Screech. It's just the reality of the way this is.
I also like this take from David. NFC West coaches don't want to coach in the NFC West more than they have to.
No.
Especially, like, I don't know, you practice against them every day. Do you really want to play the Seahawks defense twice a year for at least 2-3 years? No.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you think, oh, I've got the secret. I've been practicing against them. I've got the keys. No. I mean, if you could go to the AFC West, which you're like, it's tough, but it's not.
Is it anymore?
Tough. I mean, you've got Herbert, you've got Knicks. KC's
the
gonna
Broncos
have
are
a
the
down.
Broncos. Who cares?
I mean, it's not a murderer's row of teams like it is in the NFC West. Again, you want a home on the block with the Jets and the Browns. Like don't think that you are more than you actually are sometimes. And I don't know. I don't think Kubiak is that much better. Aaron says the AFC West is tough. I think it's tough. It is no. It is
not the AFC West of the last few years. I think the Chargers are going through an identity crisis. I think the Broncos are again the Broncos, and I think the Chiefs' reign is over. The reign of terror is over. Mahomes has torn his ACL. He's not going to play.
Kelsey probably retires.
Next year, Kelsey's gone. They're going to have to, at least for next year, I'm not that worried.
Yeah, Mr. Cardinal 1969 against us. Kubiak sees Monty and Tom Brady. He looks at Monty and says, who are you? Yeah, probably. Robert says, Vance Joseph won't even come here. I don't know about that. And then, it's going to be an interesting weekend. And the fact that we may go into Super Bowl week again without knowing who the Cardinals head coach is, it's deja vu all over again. Thank you to the bias in the chat. Hello, Aaron, Mr. Cardinal. Everybody that's in there, hit that like button right now. I want to get up to 50 likes, all right? I appreciate it. Keith says, these guys don't know ball. What do we know about ball? You talking about the AFC West and the fact that that is a division on the backslide? I mean, the Chargers are the one you could sell me on. The Broncos, maybe you could say have upside, but it is not the NFC West. You had 3 teams that were competing to win the NFC. They beat up on each other and still were the elite in the league, Keith. I think there's somebody else that don't know ball in the chat. If you want to become a supporter club member, probably not you, Keith, after what I just said, but others in the chat, the bias, hit that join button today. $5 is going to unlock fantastic emojis, exclusive content, and a free super chat each month. So we appreciate each and every one of you, even you, Keith, for being here today. So hit that like button, become a member. On the other side of the break, after halftime in the performance, we're going to have the man, the myth, the great hair from PHNX Cardinals, Bo Brack. God, I love making those sound effects. And no, it is not speed racing on the 202 late on a Friday night. It's Phoenix Raceway, the best venue in all of Arizona sports. Beautiful views and even better sports when you go out there and you watch the NTT IndyCar and NASCAR weekend coming up on March 5th through the 8th. Yes, both are racing here for the first time ever and on the same day. Not at the same time, though. That would just be irresponsible. But if you want the best in motorsports, you got to go inside the garage, walk the track, meet the drivers, and catch the pre-race concert, all thanks to the Desert Diamond infield experience. Nothing in sports brings you closer to the action. Plus, you get to see the champion of NASCAR, Kyle Larson, back at the track where he won it all. So secure your seats now at the link in the description for the March 5th through the 8th weekend at Phoenix Raceway and Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You love Vegas. You hate having to travel to Vegas. So why don't we bring your hometown and Vegas together? That's exactly what Gila River Resorts and Casinos is doing with their Vegas residency. It's bringing Vegas vibes to the Valley. And why wouldn't you want that? Don't you want to be able to have a good time on the weekend with a little Vegas spice without having to deal with all the headache of going up there? So from now through April, the Vegas residency at Gila River Resorts and Casinos brings the energy, attitude, and excitement of Las Vegas straight to you. Enjoy exclusive content, or concerts, extended DJ sets, showgirls, chef-driven dining, pop-up bars, and surprise cameos. I don't know who it's going to be. Could Wayne Newton be? Probably not. But it could be anybody. So you want to get out there. Plus, don't miss the fabulous Corvette giveaway and special perks for loyalty members. You bring you, they bring Vegas. Only at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathila.com for the full calendar of events. All right, I gotta give Joe, one of the bias in the chat, a little love. He says Espo using the Cardinals terminal sucking to flex that he married up. I gotta flex something. It ain't my football team. It ain't my good looks. So every once in a while we'll do that. We're gonna flex a little bit though, because we do have a good-looking man, but his intelligence is what's really attractive. It's Bo Brock. Bo, how are you?
That's so sweet. Saying you like me for my personality more. I appreciate that, Espo. I'm doing good, man. It's we've got faux interviews scheduled here for Saturday. We're just gonna continue to push this coaching search about as far as it possibly can be pushed. And at some point, maybe before Larry Fitzgerald is announced to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we might have a head coach in the fold for the Cardinals.
Do you think that this is a group that does not realize that they're trying to play out of their class right now and are flirting a little too high on the food chain, and maybe they should just accept that Mike LaFleur is the guy that they should go with?
Yeah, I think at this point in the process, you should have had the self-realization, awareness, just based on who you've been beaten over the head of, who you are, who you're perceived to be in this league, and just accepted of what kind of candidates are actual options for you. And you might have one team to beat, but you still are going in severely undermanned against the Raiders, who are equipped with the number 1 overall pick, the bargaining power of Tom Brady potentially being in that meeting, being a part of the ownership, more cap space, more brand notoriety. It's just, it's not a fair weight class fight. The Cardinals and Raiders vying for the services of Klint Kubiak reportedly on Saturday. So no, I think it does lack a little awareness. I mean, the very kind of rare chances that they're willing to go in there and put down a blank check and promise power and control, it would be kind of something that hasn't happened, unprecedented for the history of this organization. Unless they're willing to go drop that hammer, it is kind of puzzling why they're going to go through with it instead of just hiring the candidate that suits them and is ready to start work, as early as today.
Could you really imagine them? I mean, I guess Bidwell could, undermining Monty Ossenfort completely, who has run this search, and just being like, Klint, you get both jobs. So, I mean, essentially, if you're backing up the Brinks truck with the money and saying you get full control, it's saying, Monty, it's not you anymore. This guy, you can sit there as the figurehead, but Klint gets that. I don't see that being part of this because it's so out of character for this organization.
No, look, I mean, as far as Monty Ossenfort, he doesn't have a whole lot of leverage himself. He's also a part of an organization under his control that's gone 15-36 over the last couple of years. So, I think like him, the initial reports were he was spearheading this coaching search, and sure, could he bring in somebody that could take away some of his power? That's possible, but is it under the guise of he gets to remain the general manager and for the most part oversee the roster while, Kubiak in this circumstance or in this hypothetical would have full autonomy of the coaching staff, which Jonathan Gannon already had and was probably, the fault of his ways and part of his demise after 3 seasons here in the desert. So, yeah, it's just, you look at this and it's, you can look at the romanticize about sports and the underdog. This is the 1980 U.S. hockey team, but it's having the same result would just be as crazy. Like that they would go up against, this juggernaut, this dominant force, the Russians, and somehow in this case, the Raiders, the Cardinals to come out of there with a dub. It's just setting yourself up in an extension of a season that was just loss after loss after loss, a continuation of that into the offseason where you could have, I think, turned a hire into a win earlier this week.
I mean, okay, let's say you do believe in miracles. What's your pitch to Klint Kubiak if you're Monty Ossenfort and Michael Bidwell when you walk in there knowing Tom Brady's on deck?
Yeah, I mean, look, Monty, he's not going to be able to say, hey, I was part of the Patriot way, because the guy that is coming in behind you was the Patriot way, right? Instead of being a part of it, he was a key in the cog. I think it would be just like, hey, you're going to get, you're going to be one of the high, you're going to come in immediately and be one of the higher paid coaches in the league. You kind of have to go full court press like the Bears did with Ben Johnson. And is that even going to get the job done with what's your solution at quarterback? And what control are you willing to give as far as the roster with a general manager in place? But power control and obviously kind of waving that carrot as far as the facility down the line. But it's like the Raiders have that in place already. They have brand new facilities since they moved from Oakland to Vegas. So it's I think you can kind of, against the Raiders, you can push the narrative of relative to who you are versus who they are, stability. The Raiders have been a revolving door as far as head coaches. They went one and done with Pete Carroll. They went one and done with Antonio Pierce the previous season. Before that, Josh McDaniels was not long for the Raiders world. It was a disaster class as far as how it ended with John Gruden. So like there has just been ton of coaches that have gone in and out of there. And one of the things that has been talked about with Kubiak and why he's considering, maybe staying in Seattle is that he's had 5 different jobs in 5 years. He's moved his family around a lot. Can you present stability? So with, the biggest contract you could potentially get earning wise, can you also add maybe that 6-year like the Carolina Panthers did with Dave Canales? Would that maybe be something intriguing to Kubiak, but still an uphill battle?
Do you think that Tom Brady walks in with his Super Bowl rings and lays them on the table, and Michael Bidwell brings that one NFC championship ring and goes, "We got this," and some good Wi-Fi?
You can add that. He's like, also, we did have a phone call with one John Harbaugh a couple weeks ago. Let's not forget about that. We're gonna hang that banner and put it in the Ring of Honor here shortly. Yeah, it's tough. I think the Brady thing sometimes can be kind of too much. Like, he's a minority owner. He lives in Miami. There isn't a lure to it. I think, like, when you look at these two ownerships, you are talking about the bottom of the league. I think he gives them just an edge from that perception. But like, it hasn't won them much so far. It's a nice little part of it, but like when you're trying to make a decision, like, well, Tom Brady, like, is that a negative or is that a positive? Is Brady going to want to have more power than me? That's one of the things that I think the Cardinals could probably put in the air of Kubiak if it's not already there.
I mean, you've got the MILF, a.k.a. Mike LaFleur, already interested in you, it seems like. Do you imagine that this could actually hurt your chances because you've now said, you know what, hold on, we really enjoyed our date, but we're exploring the Klint Kubiak thing. Does that hurt you if you really want Mike LaFleur in the end?
I mean, giving these guys that you brought in to your building and really kind of wined and dined and felt like they could be the one, and then said, hold on, let's hit pause on this thing. I think it always opens up the opportunity for second guessing. But I was saying this yesterday on the show, Espo, like, I think that we're putting LaFleur maybe too high on a pedestal here. Like, I can talk myself into him being the head coach. I think, he could be a guy that you're too early on instead of, too late or right on time with. I think he's really intriguing as a head coach, and the Cardinals would get a lot of juice from that, no doubt about it, with a hire. But like, this is a guy that the biggest job he's had in the NFL, he was the main play caller for the Jets, it was a failure, and he hasn't been the main play caller in Los Angeles, and he's still going to have that kind of criticism against him if he stays in LA with McVay. McVay's always going to be, the understanding is he calls the plays and is going to get, a ton of the credit for the success there. I think LaFleur would, he'd have to go on and show that he could do it as the primary play caller in order to get like some more serious looks than teams like the Cardinals or who are in their same box. So I still think that LaFleur is very much in play. And Diana Rossini made that clear in a report on Twitter late last night. Was all the finalists for the Cardinals were informed there was one more interview. So that might have been something he knew about as he came to town for that 2-day interview just a couple days ago.
Sure hope so. I mean, JD in the chat is asking essentially, do you think the Cardinals have some kind of hint that Kubiak might be interested? I mean, outside of him saying, yeah, I'll interview with you, I can't imagine that they do, right?
You would hope that they understand, right? Like I was talking to Johnny earlier off air today. It's like, what's the bigger kind of red flag here organizationally? He's like, you lack the self-awareness to where you're just going to go in there and think you deserve to be sitting at the negotiation table and that just who you are is enough? Or are you cleaning up your PowerPoints? Are you willing to go the extra mile to get this job done uncharacteristically? What's more dangerous, and then still potentially walk away without making the hire and then having to kind of retreat to these guys. So I don't think that there is kind of I think they have to understand. Like I was talking to an industry insider last night, and like I don't see anybody that is believing that the Cardinals have a chance this weekend to hire Kubiak.
Well, I mean, I guess like you said, maybe we have to believe in miracles because it sounds like the Cardinals are. He is Bo Brack. You can follow him at Bo Brack on social. You can catch him today at 4:30 p.m. on PHNX Cardinals. I'd say you could catch him on an emergency podcast, but I'm guessing we get zero real news between now and then. Thanks, Bo.
Thanks, Espo.
A big thank you to all the bias in the chat. We appreciate you being here. A bigger thank you to the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach, for getting everything done. You can follow him at Shane Dief. You can follow the show at PHNX_sports, and you can follow me at Espo. And remember, sometimes you got to go with the one that you brought. By the way, no hat, so ahoy hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.